योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्.
Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Ruchi Sapaya, Associate Professor of Law, Himachal Pradesh National Law University, Shimla. I thank UGC Human Resource Development Center of Gujarat University for giving me an opportunity to connect with you and deliver my lecture on the topic Sustainable Development Goals, a Myth or Reality. I thank Professor Dr. Jagdish Joshi, Professor and Director of UGC HRDC of Gujarat University. I feel so happy and honored to say that HRDC Gujarat University put up an excellent teamwork from the moment of inviting me as the resource person to get the lecture recorded. They were very understanding. They gave me enough time to interact with you as I was facing network issues at my place in Shimla due to bad weather conditions and landslides taking place here. I thank them from the bottom of my heart for giving me this opportunity. I have been informed that HRDC Gujarat University is ranked as number 15 in India and number 1 in the state of Gujarat. It has matched the steps and needs of the changing times and organized first of its kind an online refresher course, online short-term course, online professional development program, PhD coursework, etc. I once again, from the bottom of my heart, congratulate the HRDC, and I'm really humbled that I have been given this opportunity to deliver the lecture in this refresher course. Now, before I begin with the lecture, I would like to share my screen, the PPTs. I hope you would like my PPTs. So just a second, please. Okay. So the first slide relates to the topic I have been given, that is Sustainable Development Goals, a myth or reality. If you have any queries relating to the lecture, I have given my address. You can personally also visit, or you can write an email also. So I have given my email ID also. So I come to the next slide, that is Sustainable Development Debate. Now, as you know, that whenever a new project gets an approval or is started, the age-old debate of the right to development versus environmental protection emerges on the experts and the general public starts discussing the consequences of such project on the environment and on the lives of people affected thereby. The projects could be construction of roads, airports, bridges, dams, buildings, etc. Now, when we are discussing or when we are having debate of these, whether we should start this project or not, what will be the pros and cons of this project on the environment? So we start talking about the positive and negative impact of the same. I would like to first discuss the negative impact of these projects. Now, the first point which comes to our mind is that if we start any new project, it will have a negative impact on the environment, and the first negative impact would be that it would create pollution. Now, pollution can be air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, noise pollution, radiation pollution, radioactive pollution, etc., etc. Now, before discussing these pollutions, I would like to tell you that there are two causes of pollution. The first cause is natural causes, and second is man-made causes. Now, the natural causes of pollution, we don't have any control over the same. For example, if any drought takes place, flood, cyclone, earthquake, molten lava of a volcano, if volcano explodes, hurricane, twister, torrents, any epidemic happens, we don't have any control. It will take time. It will do what it needs to do. and we cannot control this natural cause of pollution, and it will have a negative impact on the environment. But the second cause of pollution, that is man-made cause. We are the ones who have contributed in the growth of such pollution. So it should be us only who can control this, or who are bound to end this pollution. Now, man-made causes are like population growth. Now, why population growth is a man-made cause to create pollution? Because it indicates an increasing demand for fuel, food, water, pollution-free air, space to live in, and healthy conditions of life. And with an increasing population, this is hard to achieve. Hence, population growth has a negative impact on the environment. Then second cause is poverty. What is poverty? Poverty is inability of an individual or household to attain a minimal standard of living. It reduces people's capacity to use resources in a sustainable manner and intensifies pressure on the environment. Now, you must have heard of the Prime Minister's speech, and he urges and he has formed different policies whereby the LPG connections are given to the poorest people for free also. Now, why this is done? Because otherwise everybody needs to have food, and for cooking food, these people who don't have resources to buy LPG gas, they cook their food by old means, that is by collecting wood from the jungle, and for that they are cutting down the trees and hence are contributing to have a negative impact on the environment. So poverty is also one of the cause of creating pollution. Then third is urbanization. Now, this rapid and unplanned urbanization has also contributed to environmental pollution and degradation of human environment. More than 1/5 of the population is living in urban areas in search of uh, uh, in search of jobs. People are moving from the villages to the urban areas. But due to this rapid and unplanned urbanization, there is no proper water or sanitation facility there, and thereby they are causing pollution. कहीं से भी पानी पी रहे हैं, गंदा पानी छोड़ रहे हैं, sanitation की problem है, right? Because of which also we are having a negative impact on the environment. Then fourth man-made cause of pollution is industrialization. So industry is the access to gear up the economy of a modern society. But history is a proof that how it has posed threat to human beings, animals, aquatic life and vegetation cover. आपको याद होगा 1945 में हिरोशिमा एंड नागासाकी में क्या हुआ? The bombing was the nuclear bombs were used there, जिसका impact उनके आने वाली पुश्तों पर, वहाँ के environment पर पड़ा. Then we have other examples, like we have Minamata disease in Japan, which took place in 1956. Bhopal gas tragedy, which happened in India in 1984. These are some of the examples which if we see and realize that what can be the magnitude of causing man-made pollution and causing harm to the environment in which we are living. Now, all these causes, which I have discussed, these four causes, man-made causes, this has an effect on air, water, soil, noise, etc. And as a consequence, these pollutions take place. Now, what is air pollution, etc.? Now, I'm going to tell you that in brief. Now, this air, first of all, this industrialization, what effect this industrialization has. Now, when we use natural resources in industries, it destroys nature and affects the natural environment. For example, the cotton, textile, paper, iron, coal, oil, powder, plywood, soap, sugar, tobacco, food processing, packaging, rayon, rubber, etc. These all need natural products as raw material. And increasing need of industries have resulted in overexploitation and stress on the natural resources. Also, the residues of industries which are known as effluents. The industries that release those in natural resources like a river, oceans, ponds, etc. without treating those effluents. और वो soil में मिल जाते हैं, लोग उसी को पानी पीते हैं, and many diseases are caused. आपकी fertile land जो है infertile हो जाती है, खराब हो जाती है. Then fossil fuels are used by the industries like coal, kerosene, diesel, atomic energy, which also pollute the air in the form of smoke and radioactive particles. Noise also is a major byproduct of these industries and industrial products, which causes noise pollution. And please mind it, noise pollution is the most harmful pollution which is having an impact on human beings. Industrial wastes, particularly hazardous waste and radioactive waste, have also become a major environmental pollution problem. Then we come to what is this air pollution. As you know, that when we use the term air constitutes of several factors like moisture, the various gases which are present in the Earth's atmosphere and needed for human beings and other living beings to survive. These gases are nitrogen, oxygen, argon, carbon dioxide, and many other gases. This air also includes some traces of ozone and inert gases, water vapor, dust particles, and plant spores. Now, if we don't maintain the balance of the mixture of these all gases, कुछ भी imbalance होगा, थोड़ा भी इधर उधर होगा, तो उसका नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट पड़ेगा. आपने महसूस किया होगा, आपने शायद केसेस भी पढ़े होंगे, वेरी फेमस केसेस ऑफ ताजमहल. आपने सुना होगा कि एसिड रेन की वजह से ताजमहल जो वाइट है मार्बल, शाइनिंग मार्बल, वो येलो पड़ने लग गया था. Now, why yellowing of that marble was happening? Because around that Taj Mahal, there were several industries constructed, और उन इंडस्ट्रीज से जो धुआं निकल रहा था, वो धुआं हवा में मिल रहा था, और वो हवा में मिलते मिलते ही वो जो है एसिड रेन का रूप ले रहा था. एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट जब वो रेन ताजमहल पर पड़ती थी तो उसका कलर धीरे धीरे चेंज होता जाता था. क्यों? क्योंकि उसमें सल्फर मिल जाता था. Now, this air pollution not only has a negative impact on immaterial things, but also on living beings. It pollutes or have negative impact on man and material flora and fauna, everybody. It causes breathing problems, blood diseases, eye problems, skin problems, lung diseases, etc. Then water pollution. Water is known as the elixir of life. Therefore, it is the most important factor which any organism, any human being, any living being requires. पानी नहीं होगा हम जिंदा नहीं रह सकते हैं, right? These natural waterfalls, rivers, underground water, they all are being polluted और हमें कई बार महसूस होता है कि ये पानी अब पीने लायक नहीं है, ये बर्तन धोने लायक भी नहीं है, ये गार्डन में भी देने लायक नहीं है। क्यों? क्योंकि हमने ही उसको गंदा किया हुआ है, क्योंकि अनट्रीटेड मटेरियल इज बीइंग मिक्स्ड विद द नेचुरल वाटर रिसोर्सेज। आप जो है अपना जो सीवेज वेस्ट है वो नालों में डाल रहे हैं, नाले नदियों में मिल रहे हैं, नदियां समुद्र में मिल रही हैं। आप जितना प्लास्टिक कंज्यूम कर रहे हैं वो उस वन टाइम यूज है एंड यू आर थ्रोइंग इट अवे, वो सारा जाके ओशंस रिवर्स में मिल रहा है, इट इज कॉजिंग pollution and it is having a negative impact. Then we have another form of pollution, that is land pollution. So land pollution means when it divests the earth from its natural landscape, deforestation, denudation, discharge of untreated toxic substances on the land, throwing unhygienic or toxic hazardous waste and contaminating natural contents of earth. So unbridled mining operation in hilly areas is also causing eco imbalance. And the reason I took that, I could not record my lecture because of landslides here in Shimla. Why landslides are taking place? Because the 4-lane projects are being implemented. आपके कंस्ट्रक्शन के लिए पूरे जो पहाड़ है वो खुदाई चल रही है। जैसे जैसे वो खिसकते जाएगी, सॉइल इरोजन विल टेक प्लेस, वो सारी मिट्टी पत्थर सब नीचे आ जाता है और सब कुछ बर्बाद करके चला जाता है। This dumping of garbage, biomedical waste, hazardous waste of industries, sludge, they all cause land pollution. Then noise pollution. Noise pollution, as I told you, is very harmful. It is a slow killer. It has been gifted to us by industrialization, modernization. Now, noise causes irritation, annoyance. It constricts our arteries, increases the flow of adrenaline, and it forces our heart to work faster. और उसकी वजह से जो है हमें दिल की कई बीमारियां, भयंकर बीमारियां लगती हैं। And if we are living in continuous noise pollution, तो हमारा कार्डियक अरेस्ट तो हो ही सकता है, हमारे कोलेस्ट्रॉल लेवल भी जो है वो बढ़ता जाता है, जिसका आपको पता ही है। the negative impact is that is there is a constriction of blood vessels and आपका हार्ट अटैक, हार्ट स्ट्रोक आने के ज्यादा चांसेस हैं। आपको न्यूरोसिस, नर्वस ब्रेकडाउन की प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है, डिफेक्टिव बर्थ्स और प्रीमेच्योर बर्थ्स या अबॉर्शंस, they all can be caused due to noise pollution. Then we have radiation and radioactive pollution. अब आप एक्सरे बार बार नहीं कराना चाहते हैं, एक्सरे से भी जो है when you are exposed to any this x-ray or any your material flora fauna can get damaged if extra exposure is done to the x-ray radiation or atomic reactor plants. आपने ऑब्जर्व किया होगा कि wherever these plants have been established, nuclear reactors जहाँ जहाँ बनाए गए हैं, the labor or the people who are working there day and night, उनकी सेहत पर बहुत negative impact होता है because of these nuclear plants, because of testing of atom bombs, etc. और उनको स्किन कैंसर और दूसरी तरह की बीमारियां जो है वो लग जाती हैं, ल्यूकेमिया जैसी चीजें हो जाती हैं, कैंसरस ग्रोथ हो जाती है, राइट? सो दिस इज अनदर नेगेटिव of sustainable development when we adopt or when we talk of any new project happening. Then next negative impact is on our climate change. There's a change in the climate. पहले हमें जब हम छोटे थे हम किताबों में पढ़ते थे कि अभी सर्दी का मौसम आएगा, अभी गर्मी का आएगा, अभी बसंत का आएगा, महीने फिक्स होते थे. That from this month to this month there will be summer, there will be winter, there will be autumn. लेकिन आज ऐसा नहीं है. आज कभी भी सर्दी हो जाती है, कभी भी गर्मी हो जाती है, कभी भी कुछ हो जाता है. Why? Because of this pollution, there is a negative impact on the climate. And that's why a lot of change in climate is being felt. आपका ओजोन लेयर जो है वो डिप्लीट हो रही है. लेकिन एक गुड न्यूज आई थी ड्यूरिंग दिस पेंडेमिक. आई डोंट नो वेदर यू हर्ड ऑफ इट और नॉट. बिकॉज ऑफ द लॉकडाउन वर्ल्ड ओवर, जो ओजोन लेयर, जो होल था ओजोन लेयर में इतने सालों से जो भर नहीं पा रहा था, because of this lockdown, because of reduction in the pollution, it automatically, nature automatically ended this or filled that hole. Ozone layer में अब कोई hole नहीं है. I heard this news during lockdown itself. So you can see how our actions have positive and negative impact on the environment. Now, another negative is global warming. कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड बहुत ज्यादा छोड़ रहे हैं, ग्रीन हाउस इफेक्ट हो रहा है, बिकॉज ऑफ विच द ग्लेशियर्स, वहां की पूरी जो बर्फ है, ग्लेशियर्स वो सारे पिघल रहे हैं, ज्यादा देर तक वो ठंडे नहीं रहते हैं. तो उसकी वजह से भी जो है पूरा वर्ल्ड जो है, वर्ल्ड ओवर ग्लोबल वार्मिंग वी आर फेसिंग. एंड इवन यूनाइटेड नेशंस at international level is talking of finding solution to this problem of global warming. So I have discussed that what are the impacts or negatives of sustainable development on people, mankind, wildlife. Yes, it has negative impact on wildlife, flora and fauna also. So whenever any new project is started, it has land has to be allocated. अब वो लैंड कोई मेरी जमीन को बोलेगी सरकार की हाँ भाई अपनी जमीन दे दो, पहली बात तो मैं देना नहीं चाहूंगी. दूसरी बात, अगर मेरे से फोर्सफुली लिया भी जाएगा, आई विल नॉट हैव दैट मच ऑफ एरिया टू ऑफर टू द गवर्नमेंट, राइट? So the best way for the government is to acquire forest, etc., the land which is not owned by general public, और वहां पर बहुत ज्यादा फ्लोरा एंड फौना है उसको खत्म करते जाते हैं. और उससे जो है अगेन इट्स अ विशियस साइकिल जिससे बहुत ज्यादा नुकसान होता है. आई गिव यू वन एग्जांपल. an encroachment to the habitat of these wild species. They may get extinct. The birds, animals, insects, reptiles. Their destruction of grasslands, which house important biodiversity. For example, proposed site for airport at Purandar Taluka. It encroached upon the habitat of a flagship species like Indian grey wolf, chinkaras, hyenas, foxes, jackals, toddy cats, and hares, and on the rich variety of birds, reptiles, and amphibians. But the positive is that if the government is trying to maintain balance between this and sustainable development का positive ज़्यादा देखने की कोशिश कर रही है, and to ensure protection of the environment, to ensure the protection of wild species and flora and fauna, they have formulated various legislations domestically as well as at international level also. Various countries have come together and agreed upon certain bilateral, multilateral conventions. Now, for example, in India, Wildlife Protection Act 1972 has been formulated. formulated, which established schedules of protected plant and animal species. There are 6 schedules which give varying degrees of protection. There is Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. It is an international agreement between governments, and it ensures that international trade in specimens of wild animals and plants does not threaten their survival. There is International Union of Conservation of Nature, known as IUCN. So it has listed, it has given a red list of endangered animals in India. Then there is UNFCCC, that is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Kyoto Protocol lays down the importance of reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, ozone layer depletion due to environmental degradation. So we can say yes, there are negative impacts. आपने एक during lockdown आपने ये भी न्यूज सुनी होगी, दिल्ली की बहुत न्यूज आती है that people in Delhi started buying air purifiers. कि इतनी ज्यादा pollution है, air pollution है, that they cannot step out of their houses and they are bound to buy air purifiers. या फिर जो है आपने और न्यूज सुनी होगी कि schools बंद कर दिए जाते हैं for certain period of time. Otherwise, these students may face this problem of air pollution and may suffer certain diseases, lung diseases, etc. तो स्कूल के छोटे-छोटे बच्चों को स्कूल में जाने से रोक दिया जाता है, right? So yes, we can see, we can feel the negative impacts of sustainable development also. Now I come to the positive. When we are debating this, whether a new project should take place or not, whether this concept of sustainable development should be moved further or not, then the positive is whenever a new project comes, there is a hope that we will have employment. हमारे पास काम होगा, हम पैसा कमाएंगे, पैसा कमाएंगे तो हम उसे खर्च कर सकते हैं, पैसा खर्च करेंगे, there will be social upliftment, there will be economic benefit, there will be economy growth, there will be urbanization, etc. कैसे होगा? मेरे पास पैसे होंगे, मैं अच्छा खाना खाऊंगी, मैं अपने बच्चों को पढ़ाऊंगी, मैं अपने पड़ोसियों के साथ भी खुश रहूंगी, मैं अपनी इकोनॉमी में भी हेल्प करूंगी. अगर ट्रेन्स चल रही हैं, बसेस चल रही हैं, रोड्स हैं, एयरपोर्ट्स हैं, ब्रिजेस हैं, then the economy will boost, how the tourism will take place. The men and material, the trade and commerce, it will be at a faster pace. कहीं पे भी आना जाना आसान, काम करना आसान. Smart cities, the new concept of smart cities, it will be put into reality. So these are the positives also of sustainable development. Now, I come to the next slide. Elements of principle of sustainable development. Now, the principle of sustainable development is a general principle of law which requires states to balance environmental considerations with developmental considerations. Now, there are 3 principles of sustainable development. First is principle of intergenerational equity. Second is principle of sustainable use. Third is principle of integration. Now, first we have to understand that when we are talking of sustainable development, that is हमारे जो natural resources हैं, आज हम उसको इस तरह से यूज करें कि हमारी आने वाली generations भी उन चीजों का मजा ले सके, उन चीजों को कंज्यूम कर सके, यूज कर सके, एंजॉय कर सके. हमने इतना लालच नहीं करना है कि जो हमें आज दिख रहा है नेचर में वो सब हम ही खा लें. आने वाली पुश्तों को हम कुछ भी ना बचाएं. So one aspect of sustainable development is that we should use the natural resources in such a manner that we don't finish the natural resources, we keep it for future generation, for the use of future generations as well. The other aspect of sustainable development is आज की generation जितनी भी है world over, सबका बराबर हक. मैं अंबानी अडानी हूं तो मेरा ही सारा हक हो जाए सारे नेचुरल रिसोर्सेज पे, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. और जो बेचारा गरीब है वो ऐसे देखता रहे, अरे मुझे तो कुछ नहीं मिल रहा पर मैं कुछ कर नहीं सकता, नेचर ने मेरे साथ बेइंसाफी की, मेरा तो नेचर में कोई हक नहीं. दिस शुड नॉट. A developed state should not have more rights over the natural resources than the underdeveloped country or a developing country. So sustainable development का एक आयाम, one dimension is that it tries to balance the interest of all people, every individual, irrespective of their status. तो हम आज की जनरेशन में भी सब में इक्वालिटी होनी चाहिए और आज की जनरेशन और आने वाली फ्यूचर जनरेशन उनमें भी इक्वालिटी होनी चाहिए. So that is actually the concept of sustainable development. Now coming back to the first principle of intergenerational equity. So a man has the solemn duty to protect and improve his environment for the present and future generations. The protection, preservation, and enhancement of the natural environment, particularly the proper management of climate system, biological diversity, fauna and flora of the earth are the common concerns of humankind. Then second principle of sustainable use. It focuses on the need to conserve the environment by using the natural resources rationally with the need to protect and improve environment for the benefit of the population. Then the third principle of integration. Now, in order to achieve sustainable development, environmental protection shall constitute an integral part of the development process and cannot be considered in isolation from it. That is, developing countries shall have an integrated and coordinated approach while thinking of developmental planning in their countries by ensuring that development is compatible with the need to protect and improve human environment. Yes, sustainable development is a necessary evil. But this evil can be reduced and can be managed, and we have to do it. Okay. Then coming to the next slide. Now, sustainable development. Whether this terminology is a legal concept or we need to have a holistic approach towards it. Now, to decide कि ये किसमें fall करेगा, we need to answer certain questions. Now, first question is that international legal issues are complex and they cannot be considered or addressed properly without taking account of political, cultural, economic and scientific concerns. तो मेरा political एक country का political agenda क्या है, वहाँ का culture कैसा है, वहाँ की economy कैसी है, वहाँ की science कितनी developed है, हमारा outlook different होगा than the outlook of America, than the outlook of Uganda. So every country will have different perspective. तो हमें सबको साथ लेकर चलना जरूरी है. Second is what level of environmental protection should standards seek to address. सब में जब आप सबको मिलाकर लेकर चलेंगे, so what would be the common interest, balance point, base जिस पे सबको अग्री करना पड़ेगा. वो स्टैंडर्ड मेंटेन करना पड़ेगा, किसी को कोई एक्सक्यूज नहीं मिलेगा. That we have to decide. The next is, should these standards be set on a uniform basis or should they be differentiated to take account of political, economic and ecological circumstances? आप कुछ exceptions रखेंगे कि नहीं रखेंगे, या आपने एक पत्थर की लकीर खींच दी सभी देशों के लिए and every country has to follow that, या आप कहेंगे नहीं ये गरीब नेशन है इसको थोड़ी एक्सेप्शन दे दी जाए, थोड़ा ये बहुत अमीर कंट्री है इस पे हेवी फाइन लगा दिया जाए या इसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ज्यादा बढ़ा दी जाए. सो हाउ विल यू मेंटेन दैट यूनिफॉर्म basis? Will you have any exception, any concession to any country or not? Next is, what regulatory and other techniques they exist to apply to those standards? आपने एक पत्थर की लकीर खींच दी सबके लिए, मैं नहीं मान रही, इंडिया नहीं मान रहा, क्या करोगे? इंडिया का कान कैसे मरोड़ोगे? इंडिया ने तो पहले बहुत अच्छे से हाथ जोड़ लिया सभी कंट्रीज के साथ कि हाँ भाई हम सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट का पार्ट है, वील हैव अ होलिस्टिक अप्रोच, हम भी एनवायरमेंट पे बहुत कुछ करेंगे. अल्टीमेटली आई एम नॉट एबल टू डू एनीथिंग. देन व्हाट राइट डू अदर कंट्रीज हैव ओवर द इंडियन स्टेट? बिकॉज आई एम अ सॉवरेन कंट्री. कैसे मेरे कान खींचोगे आप? Then how are the standards to be enforced domestically or at international level? What happens if a dispute arises over a non-compliance? आप जैसे दो छोटे बच्चे आपस में लड़ते हैं, उनका डिस्प्यूट माँ बाप रिजॉल्व कराते हैं. अगर मान लो मैं इंडिया और श्रीलंका जो है अपना जो वाटर शेयर कर रहे हैं उसके पीछे लड़ाई लड़ने लग जाए, so how will you resolve that matter? So these all points need to be considered while discussing or while defining the concept of sustainable development. So we cannot say कि this is wholly a legal concept और law है, you should abide by that, नहीं तो आपको consequences face करने और वो implement करना impossible है. So rather we should have a holistic approach. Okay. Then coming to the next slide. Okay. Then next slide is role of Indian judiciary. Now, courts play an important role. They play an imperative and critical role in giving impact to various executive directions and legislations sanctioned by the government. A judiciary which is well informed on the contemporary developments in the field of international and national imperatives of environmentally friendly development will be a major force in strengthening national efforts to realize the goals. क्यों? क्योंकि judiciary implements the law. It sees whether the laws are in conformity with the Constitution of India or not. So global environmentalism, like different ideologies, is based on wide ethical and political convictions. Its aim is to rebalance the relationship between natural environment and human culture. अब जो इंडिया में एनवायरमेंटल लॉ है उसका सोर्स जो है स्टार्टिंग से रहा है with the concept or with the idea of nuisance, which has been derived from the tort law, and public nuisance discussed under criminal law. Now, from such humble beginnings in India, environmental claims, damages, and wrongs have continued to a judicially settled in the idea of rights of human rights and of human rights. The criminal law idea of public nuisance has been seized upon by the courts to act against environmental contamination. Subsequently, the courts have held that public health imperiled by public nuisance is a public nuisance violative of Section 133 Indian Penal Code. The Honorable Supreme Court of India has supplemented civil and criminal jurisdiction on grounds of nuisance and public nuisance in two critical ways. Number one, environmental prosecution can be based upon wide human rights cases as we got from the fundamental rights mentioned under Constitution of India. Second is environmental cases can be constructed upon dependence in light of restricted lawfulness basis and also abuse of power, excess of power or jurisdictional contentions too. Indian judiciary has time and again decided various cases and laid down or it has evolved new guidelines, new principles while deciding those cases. So I would like to discuss some of the cases. Now, you must have heard of the Ganga pollution case. Now, in this case, it was brought before the notice of the Supreme Court of India that the tanneries, they were discharging the untreated effluents in the river's water, and near Kanpur, the water of river Ganga, it was found highly toxic. And the Supreme Court came to help and said that these tanneries cannot work there until and unless this whatever they were the untreated waste which they were discharging in the river Ganga was treated. If they did not have money to treat those effluents, then the tanneries needs to be shut immediately. Then I have discussed the yellowing of Taj Mahal. Now, here also, Taj Mahal, you know, it is in Agra. So, due to chemical and hazardous industries, oil refineries along the Taj Mahal, the sulfur dioxide was emitted by these industries, Mathura refinery, which combined with the oxygen in the air and with the aid of this moisture in the atmosphere, sulfuric acid, which is commonly known as acid rain, it took place, and acid rain की वजह से the marble of Taj Mahal got affected, and again the Supreme Court, it ordered the shifting of these industries, and you will be shocked to know the number of industries there. So the Supreme Court said that all these 292 industries from Taj Trapezium or close to them need to be shifted to some other place. And again, if it is not possible to shift them, close them down. Then you must have heard of the Bhopal gas tragedy. Now, this took place on the fateful night of 2nd and 3rd December 1984. Methyl isocyanide, MIC. This gas leaked from the Union Carbide Corporation, Bhopal, and 40 tons of highly toxic gas which leaked. It killed around 3,000 people. This is the what we say government का record है ये. असली में तो इससे ज़्यादा होगा. But as per the government record, 3,000 people were killed in this Bhopal gas leak disaster, and more than 2 lakh people, they were taken ill of various kinds of ailments. लंगड़े लूले पैदा हो रहे थे, बच्चे अंधे हो रहे थे, वो तो हुए, आगे की कई जनरेशन वो सारी भी जो है इन डिजीजेस को सफर किया. But we did not learn anything from this disaster. And exactly 1 year after the same, on fateful night of 4th December 1985, another disaster took place and oleum gas leaked from Shriram Food and Fertilizer Corporation. In these cases, the Supreme Court evolved new principles. One principle was of locus standi. Generally, locus standi means if I have been wronged, only I have a right to approach the court. But in these cases, for example, in Bhopal gas disaster case, The persons who died could not approach the court. The family members were also victims. They could not approach the court. Then should the offender go scot-free? No. So the government said a public interest litigation can be filed, even a letter, or Supreme Court can take cognizance on its own. और आप जो है चाहे आपका जो सामने कोर्ट में केस लड़ रहा है उसका पर्सनल इंटरेस्ट ना भी हो, but still that person will have a locus standi to fight the case. So this principle was evolved. Another principle, a doctrine of strict liability, absolute liability were evolved. Now this strict liability or absolute liability means no escaping from your liability. आपने गलती की है, चाहे जानबूझकर या अनजाने में, you will be bound by the same. आपको उसकी सजा मिलेगी और सजा सिर्फ जेल तक नहीं कन्फाइंड है, आपको फाइन भी भरना पड़ेगा और फाइन नॉर्मल फाइन नहीं है, एग्जेम्पलरी फाइन भरना पड़ेगा। आपको कॉम्पनसेट करना पड़ेगा विक्टिम्स को, उनकी फैमिलीज। आपको आने वाले टाइम के लिए पॉल्यूशन फाइन भरना पड़ेगा। आपकी ड्यूटी है, आप जो काम कर रहे हैं उसमें पब्लिक ट्रस्ट डॉक्ट्रिन इवॉल्व की गई टू प्रिजर्व द एनवायरमेंट और कहा गया दिस पब्लिक ट्रस्ट डॉक्ट्रिन is an essential feature of sustainable development and is part of the land. तो इस तरह के कई नए प्रिंसिपल्स जो है गवर्नमेंट, ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ इंडिया ने इवॉल्व किए। और ये कैसे किए? हवा में नहीं किए, ये सारे किए by interpreting the provisions of constitution in its spirit, with the directive principles, with the fundamental duties. आपका आर्टिकल 48A, 51AG, 21, कई legislations, international conventions, all were read together in harmony, in letter and spirit. और इस तरह से जो है सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने टाइम एंड अगेन has tried its best to evolve environment jurisprudence in protecting the natural resources, to protect the right of life of endangered species and its obligation to save them. अब वो species जो है, plants हैं या animals हैं, वो तो कोर्ट नहीं आएंगे, लेकिन इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि उनको कोई नहीं देखेगा, उन्हें कोई प्रोटेक्ट नहीं करेगा। We have a fundamental duty to protect them. The state government has a directive principle to protect them. We have signed international conventions, so we are bound by them and we need to save these beings. We all have, we means not even only the human beings, but other living beings on this earth. They also have a right to pollution-free and healthy environment. This has been given under fundamental rights of our constitution. Other principle evolved was of corporate social responsibility. CSR is corporate social responsibility. Now, corporate social responsibility means whenever any corporate sector is coming up, आप कोई project शुरू कर रहे हैं, so you're utilizing the natural resources. So you have a duty to protect the same and you have a duty towards the general public as well. तो आप जो अपना खर्चा, अपना बजट बना रहे हैं, उस बजट में आपको एक हिस्सा पोल्यूशन को मेंटेन करने के लिए, उसको इम्प्रूव करने के लिए, या खराब कर रहे हैं तो वो खराब ना हो उसके लिए आपको पैसा डाइवर्ट करना पड़ेगा, रखना पड़ेगा। दैट इज कॉर्पोरेट सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी। आप उससे एस्केप नहीं कर सकते हैं। Then is Silent, another case now I would like to discuss is Silent Valley case. Now in district of Palghat district of Kerala, which contained one of India's largest tropical evergreen forest and is the only vestige of virgin forest of Western Ghats. It had diverse and complex flora and fauna, unique vegetable food resources for mammals and birds. It housed various endangered plants and animals, supplied water to plains by retaining rainwater in the soil, maintains hydrological balance, averted floods, droughts, checked soil erosion, regulated climatic conditions of the area. लेकिन वहां पे जो है आपकी केरला गवर्नमेंट ने कहा कि हम वहां पर एक बांध बनाएंगे हाइड्रो इलेक्ट्रिक प्रोजेक्ट हम शुरू करेंगे उस वैली में। तो ये जो सारा उस वैली से हमें बेनिफिट हो रहा था वो अफेक्ट होना था। सो अ रिट वाज फाइल्ड, लेकिन एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम बिकॉज दिस एनवायरमेंटल लॉ वाज इन इट्स nascent स्टेज, वो इम्प्रूव हो रहा था। At that time, the Supreme Court वो थोड़ा सा कॉन्शियस हो गया एंड उसने अपने डिसीजन में ये कहा the pros and cons have to be weighed by the government. If the government is pleading that this project will benefit the villages, वहां पे इलेक्ट्रिसिटी आएगी, that benefit is more than the loss caused to the flora and fauna, then court cannot sit over this question और हम नहीं डिसाइड करेंगे, ये गवर्नमेंट भी छोड़ेंगे। इफ गवर्नमेंट फील्स राइट हम करने देंगे। उस टाइम पे जुडिशरी ने ये रोल किया था, बट आज की डेट में the stance of judiciary has changed. There's another case law that is Rural Litigation Entitlement Kendra, also known as RLE की case. यहाँ पे again in Dehradun in India, many lime quarries were started. वो सारा जो है खोदाई की वजह से जो है वहाँ का सारा जो ग्रीन कवर है इन देहरादून मसूरी, वो सारा खत्म हो रहा था और उसका भी नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट पड़ रहा था। और ये अनऑथराइज्ड इलीगल माइनिंग ऑपरेशंस हो रही थी, सारी मसूरी हिल्स खराब हो रही थी एंड इट वाज अफेक्टिंग द इकोलॉजी इन अ नेगेटिव way, leading to environmental disturbances. So a letter was written to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court took that letter and treated it as a writ petition and decided that this erratic, irrational and uncontrolled quarrying of limestone is bad in law, हम नहीं होने देंगे। और 70% जो ग्रीन कवर था वो इस क्वारिंग की वजह से 10% ग्रीन कवर रह गया था। कितना नुकसान कर दिया था, इकोलॉजी कितनी बैडली हिट हुई होगी। सो द सुप्रीम कोर्ट imposed heavy fine on these quarries, and again Supreme Court paid attention to the environmental cause which was raised by the RLEK. Okay. Then we come to the next slide. That is United Nations Conference on Environment and Development 1992 priorities. Now, the first major global environmental conference, the 1992 United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, UNCED, provided an opportunity for the international community to prioritize environmental issues and consolidate a vast and unwieldy patchwork of international commitments, and it recognized the following priorities. So first priority, this one, was priorities for the protection and conservation of environment, and under it, protection of the atmosphere, in particular by combating climate change, ozone depletion, ground level and transboundary air pollution, protection of land resources, halting deforestation, conservation of biological diversity, protection of freshwater resources, protection of oceans and seas, including coastal areas and marine living resources. These were prioritized. The second priority was major issues were identified, the products and byproducts of human technological and industrial innovations that harms the environment and hence requires international regulations. तो किस पे फोकस किया गया? Biotechnology, toxic chemicals, including their international trade, agricultural practices, hazardous wastes, including their international trade, waste and sewage related issues, radioactive waste, etc. Now, environment, it represents a complex system of international connections. The interdependence of environmental issues poses legal challenges, how to develop and apply a comprehensive and effective set of legal requirements aimed at preventing environmental damage by addressing these sources without taking measures that will cause harm elsewhere. So current efforts to develop environmentally sound energy policies, for example, reflect the full extent of this challenge and demonstrate how developments in the law depend upon political will, economic factors, and technological capacity. So the basis for decision making is science, economics, and other values of a particular country. What impact the science and perceived economic impacts will have are the most important factors while making a decision for this sustainable development. Now, the factors which work in favor of taking this decision. Number one, the likelihood of achieving progress on the law is influenced by the scientific consensus about the problem, the level of public concern, the political perceptions as to the allocation of responsibilities, the economic consequences of action or inaction, and the existence of existing multilateral precedents. The factors that lessen the likelihood of reaching the agreement include the economic costs of environmental controls, the number of states negotiating a treaty, choice of forum for the negotiation of the agreement, nature of arrangements for dealing with the non-compliance. So these are the basis. Now, there is a myth about sustainable development, that it looks unrealistic, it looks more of a slogan than a scientific concept. The sustainable development can be achieved partially in developed countries, and unfortunately, it is difficult to achieve in developing countries. That is, a single country cannot achieve sustainable development and its goals. The reality is that sustainable development is extremely humane and noble. It is a global process. We all need to work together in harmony with each other. The International Court of Justice at international level in various cases, like in Pulp Mills case, Costa Rica versus Nicaragua case, in giving whaling decision, etc. उन्होंने भी बहुत कोशिश की है सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट के कॉन्सेप्ट को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए, एनवायरनमेंट को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए. There is International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea in its advisory opinion on responsibilities and obligations in the area and sub-regional fisheries commissions and the WTO dispute settlement body in GMO case merit attention and comparison, indicating a range of views on the need of precautionary measures. In parallel with such judicial developments has been the recognition of a greater role for early risk assessment beyond traditional use of environmental impact assessment. The laws adopted to protect the environment can impose potentially significant economic costs. आप काम नहीं कर रहे हैं, आप पे heavy cost लगा दो. Certain technologically developed countries may be a better placed to benefit from the adoption of stringent environmental standards, while others will be concerned about the threat to their economic competitiveness resulting from the failure of other countries to adopt similarly stringent standards and may want to relax their environmental standards. The last part is the what we are doing at the international level, the suggestion and control. Okay, coming to next slide. Now I would like to discuss what is happening at the international level. Now, regarding this sustainable development. Now, principles of international environmental law are well established and are a central part of the international legal order. But the complexities of environmental problems, their deep interlinkages with other issues areas, especially economic field, has grown over a period of time. There is a growing political and intellectual interest in environmental protection. Case law on environmental and natural resources issues continues to be a burgeoning area of international litigation, confronting practitioners and judges with difficult new questions such as how to approach science and expert evidence in factually complex and technical disputes. Despite the myriad of legal developments, the most complex environmental problem facing domestic and international law remains some of the most pressing, particularly climate change, marine pollution, biodiversity loss, fisheries trade, atmospheric protection, ozone depletion, toxic and hazardous pollution of air, sea, rivers, depletion of freshwater resources, etc. International and national documents on environmental law, rules and regulations, they provide a comprehensive overview with an object to protect the environment. These laws and rules have become more numerous and complex, but also more accessible. The advent of the internet often means that material which was previously difficult to track down, like copy of rules and regulations, information as to status, signature and ratification of treaties, acts and decisions of conferences of the parties and subsidiary bodies has become now relatively easy to be obtained and used to the maximum benefit to achieve their objectives. The planet Earth is facing serious environmental challenges that can only be addressed through international cooperation. Now, what have we done internationally? Now, the United Nations and other countries, by entering into bilateral or multilateral conventions or by being part of United Nations, they follow certain conventions. These conventions are binding upon them. And this in protection of environment, it actually started from the era of Stockholm Conference held in 1972. This was the first international conference on human environment, which was held in Stockholm, capital of Sweden, on 5th to 16th June 1972. And more than 107 states participated in it. Our Prime Minister of that time, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, was the first head of the state to address this conference. In this conference, actually 26 principles were agreed by all the parties, the participating countries, and it was declared by the participating states that we will imbibe these 26 principles in our domestic laws. These principles are actually known as the Magna Carta on Human Environment. So, Stockholm Declaration was the first holistic approach to deal with the problems of environment. This principle number 1 and 2 actually talks about sustainable development. It cautions us how non-renewable resources of the earth must be employed in a way so as to guard against the danger to future generations. Then, in the year 1983, the World Commission on Environment and Development was established by the United Nations General Assembly. for a global agenda for change. The then Prime Minister of Norway, Gro Harlem Brundtland, he was appointed as the chairperson of the commission to re-examine the critical environmental and developmental problems on the planet and to formulate realistic proposals to solve them and to ensure that human progress is sustained through development without bankrupting the resources of future generations. As I told you earlier, what sustainable development actually means. Now, this report was presented in the year 1987, and the name of the report is known as Our Common Future. Why common future? Because the world is not divided into states. The whole world has to act combinedly to fight and to protect environment. Now, this report was divided into three parts. First part was regarding the common concerns. The second part was regarding the common challenges, and the third part related to common endeavors. And this report actually advocated for sustainable development so that harmony amongst human beings and between humanity and nature is achieved. So this report actually provided a list of 22 legal principles for environment protection and sustainable development. Subsequently, many other legislations or many other conventions also have been formulated, signed and ratified by various countries like UN Convention on Law of Seas 1982, Vienna Convention on Protection of Ozone Layer 1985, its protocol, Montreal Protocol in 1987, Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora 1973, and many other conventions. So I will send you the list of all the conventions which have been proposed and passed by the United Nations or by different countries. Then in the year 1992, Rio de Janeiro Conference, also famously known as Earth Summit, it took place, and this Earth Summit actually talked about or laid down 27 principles. This Earth Summit, it reaffirmed the agendas or the principles as were declared by the Stockholm Declaration of 1972. And the main objective of this Earth Summit was to establish new and equitable global partnership through creation of new levels of cooperation among the states, key sectors of societies and people. Now, the various principles of this declaration, Earth Summit, it emphasized upon, again, sustainable development to equitable meet developmental and environmental needs of the present and future generations, eradication of poverty programs, reduction and elimination of unsustainable patterns of production, etc., etc. Now, in the year 1992, Agenda 21, it was one of the instruments adopted by the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, which was held in Rio de Janeiro in 1992. It is a non-binding instrument, but has provided certain strategies and other detailed programs to contain environmental degradation and to promote environmentally sound and sustainable development. It advocates for global partnership among the world government, masses, and non-governmental voluntarily agencies for achieving these principles. Again, this uh, agenda is divided into, this Agenda 21 is divided into four parts. First part is socio-economic dimensions, that is habitat, health, demography, consumption, production pattern, etc. Second part is conservation and resource management, that is atmosphere, forest, water, waste, etc. Then third is strengthening the role of NGOs and other social action groups such as trade unions, women organizations, etc. And fourth is measures of implementation, that is finances, institutional machinery, etc. Then coming to this last 2030 agenda. Now, this is the agenda which needs to be achieved by the year 2030. This 2030 agenda was proposed in the year 2015. Now, again, uh, it talked about certain principles. That is, there should not be any poverty, there should be zero hunger in the world, good health and well-being should be given to should be ensured to every individual, quality education to all, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions, partnership for the goals. These agendas were set up and are known as 2030 agenda. Now, 2030 is not very far off. Today it is 2021, and soon we are going to reach in the year 2030. And before that, we have to achieve these principles. Now, these principles, even though they are given a new name, but actually they talk about or they carry the similar agenda or similar principles which we have been deliberating upon or which we have talked in the previous agendas also discussed, or different principles discussed at the international level. So next slide is regarding suggestions. What can we do now? What should we do? So there are certain suggestions proposed by me. So first suggestion is that along with general court procedure, alternative dispute settlement mechanism ought to be explored for a better security of environment. So it is not that if I have done some wrong to the environment, I should be punished. Some alternate dispute mechanism should also be explored. Second is that a mindfulness and specialized education system be focused upon so that students learn the importance of environment, its protection and improvement from an early and impressionable age. छोटे बच्चों को जो सिखाया जाता है वो उम्र भर याद रखते हैं, बड़े बच्चों को, बड़े लोगों को जो सिखाया जाता है वो 2 मिनट में भूल जाते हैं. So this protection of environment should be a compulsory subject during the school time. Before starting any new project, a sincere review, need, benefit, loss, etc. must be weighed in a proper and sincere manner, without any bias, without any pressure, to make a final decision whether we require such project at that particular time or not. It's not that we have a particular ideology or we have liking for a particular leader who's saying we should have this project and we are blindly following that and damaging the environment. This should not be the case. Then both civil and criminal liability be imposed upon the wrongdoer of environment. So it is not that you have just forced him to pay compensation or to pay environment fine and then the person escapes his liability. No, he must be sent to jail as well. Criminal liability must also be fixed upon him. Then cooperation and balance, harmony between the executive, judiciary, environmental activists and local people, it must be ensured. No one party can work in isolation. All these stakeholders must come together, must work in harmony for the benefit of the human being and for the benefit of the environment. So, and then we must identify the emerging areas for formulating new legislations, and we must review and those laws which have become obsolete, which are of no use, they must be repealed. And the person who's taking decision, if he has gone wrong, then accountability must be ensured. If anyone is damaging the environment, then his accountability must be fixed. He should not go, he should not escape the liability. Then I would like to conclude my session, this lecture, by saying that yes, it is widely recognized that the planet faces serious environmental challenges that can only be addressed through international cooperation. Climate change and ozone depletion, loss of biodiversity, toxic and hazardous pollution of air, sea, of rivers, depletion of water, freshwater resources, etc., are some of the issues that international law is called upon to address today. It really needs focus, attention, and a sincere effort. Today, the effort to focus on saving environment by the countries all over the world is quite evident, because it has been realized by the world that environment threats are accompanied by a recognition that ecological interdependence does not respect national boundaries. अगर मेरे देश में आग लगी है तो सिर्फ मेरे देश में धुआं नहीं उड़ेगा, वो वर्ल्ड में भी जाएगा. अगर मेरे यहाँ की बर्फ पिघल रही है तो सिर्फ मेरे यहाँ बाढ़ नहीं आएगी, वो दूसरे नेबरिंग कंट्रीज में भी जाएगी. So if environment of a particular country is being damaged, the negative impact will not be confined to the boundaries of that particular country. वो पूरे वर्ल्ड ओवर फैलेंगे. अगर एक जगह की ग्लेशियर्स पिघल रहे हैं तो वर्ल्ड ओवर इम्पैक्ट होगा. एक जगह पे आपने इंडस्ट्रीज एस्टैब्लिश की हैं जिसके धुआं उड़ रहा है और ग्रीन हाउस इफेक्ट बढ़ रहा है, so it will have an impact world over. So we cannot say that if one country is contributing to polluting the environment, only that country will face the negative consequences. No, it will have consequences upon the other countries as well, and hence harmony between all the countries, efforts by all the countries in protecting the environment must. So sincere efforts need to be made at all levels, domestically and internationally. And presently, as we are facing COVID-19 pandemic, this pandemic has greatly affected the lives of people around the world. Even though this pandemic originally originated in Wuhan city of China, but we all can see that its consequence was not limited to the national boundary. It has been faced by the world over. Now, so that's this example was given just to put my intention clear, to put my point forward that yes, this environment needs to be protected, and the natural resources need to be used very consciously so that sustainable development concept can be maintained. And whether this sustainable development is possible or not, yes, it is possible if conscious effort by all of us is made. And I would like to end it by on a positive note by sharing the fact that the Tokyo Olympic, which happened recently, the Japan hosted this Tokyo Olympics 2021, and all the medals, they were prepared from the scrap, that is the old mobile phones, laptops, etc. So out of those, the medals were prepared. So this waste material was again put by Japan into a good or valuable use. So yes, sustainable development, this concept is a valid concept and it is achievable. It is not a myth, and we all must do whatever is possible in our hands and must try towards protecting the environment. So thank you all. And once again, I thank Gujarat University HRDC for giving me this wonderful opportunity to interact with you and to share my views with you. I hope you liked all the slides and the lecture, and you must have gained something out of it, and you'll contribute in your own little way. Thank you so much.